NASCAR just admitted they don't have the guts to make a call. Officials sat down, pulled the data, reviewed everything, and still walked away without punishing anyone. Mate, that's not a decision. That's a shrug, dressed up as due process, and everyone paying close attention already knows it. And what NASCAR is quietly calling a grey zone is about to become the most dangerous 2 words left in this entire championship. Here's the situation. Shane Van Gisbergen and Austin Hill are stuck policing a war that NASCAR itself won't referee. 2 drivers, 1 growing rivalry, and a sanctioning body that looks straight at the evidence and still couldn't bring itself to draw a line. And here's the kicker, right? When officials won't draw that line, drivers draw it themselves. And that's exactly when someone ends up in the wall for real. Before we get under the bonnet on what NASCAR actually reviewed, quick one for you. If you're new here, this is NASCAR Trackline TV, and we're closing in on 500 subscribers, which for a channel doing breakdowns this deep is a proper ripper milestone to hit. If you want the full story on every single Hill SVG flashpoint, not just the headline everyone else is running, hitting subscribe is the easiest way to make sure you don't miss the next one. Right, back to Chicagoland. So what did NASCAR actually look at? Officials pulled throttle, steering, and braking data at remote race control immediately after the wreck, then ran a full second pass the very next day. That's not a quick glance. That's forensic-level review, mate. And the standard they're working off, according to NASCAR VP Mike Ford, is brutal. They needed proof the contact was 100% intentional, not just questionable. Translation: NASCAR has an absurdly high bar, and Chicagoland simply didn't clear it. Not because nothing happened, but because officials couldn't prove it happened on purpose. Now here's where it gets genuinely interesting. The reactions afterward tell you more than the penalty report ever could. As Mike Ford explained it, the contact was reviewed, but nothing was definitive enough to call it fully intentional. That's a carefully chosen phrase, mate, and it's doing a lot of work. Shane Van Gisbergen said he didn't want to escalate things further, describing the whole situation as a weird dynamic, and admitting he's got more to lose in this rivalry than most people realize. Think about that for a second. A driver openly admitting the politics of this matter more than the medal ever will. Austin Hill kept it short with media afterward, calling the hauler meeting simply interesting and saying NASCAR let them know what they need to do going forward, which, fair dinkum, tells you nothing and everything all at once. And then there's team owner Richard Childress, who called the contact blatant over the radio in the heat of the moment, no hesitation, no hedging. That's your real contrast right there. Ford's clinical caution sitting right next to Childress's raw, unfiltered frustration. Same incident, 2 completely different realities. And NASCAR fans are stuck picking which one to believe. But here's the thing, this isn't even their first trip to the NASCAR hauler over each other. And what happened last time one of them got summoned like this changes how you should read Saturday's meeting completely. I'm not telling you yet. Hang tight, because it matters more than you think. Let's get into it though. Let's talk about the technical side of why this call was even close in the first place. NASCAR's review process isn't just eyeballing a replay from the booth. It's pulling millisecond-level telemetry, cross-referencing steering angle against braking pressure, checking whether a driver lifted off the throttle, whether they turned in early, whether that throttle stayed pinned when common sense says it shouldn't have. That's the kind of granular data most fans never actually see, and it's exactly the kind of detail that separates a real breakdown from a hot take. And even with all of that laid out in front of them, officials still couldn't clear the bar Ford described. Translation: the data showed contact. No question about that, but it didn't show intent. And in NASCAR's rulebook, that gap between contact and intent is everything. It's the difference between a penalty and a press release. Right, let's pay off that open loop now. Remember what I said about this not being their first hauler visit? Here's exactly why that matters. Austin Hill has been down this road before. He was hit with a suspension and stripped of playoff points after retaliating against Aric Almirola at Indianapolis, so this isn't some clean slate we're talking about. So when NASCAR sits Hill down again, they're not starting from zero trust. They've got history sitting right there in the file, and history changes how a governing body reads every single future incident. And this isn't just a two-race grudge either. This is the third clash between Hill and SVG in 4 races, stretching all the way back to Pocono and Naval Base Coronado. 3 incidents, 4 races, 1 common thread. That's not an accident, mate. That's a pattern. And patterns in this sport almost always end the same way, with someone finally snapping. And the stakes just got a whole lot heavier. SVG is fighting to stay above the chase cut line heading into Atlanta. That means any retaliation, any contact, any points penalty from here on out doesn't just cost him pride. It could cost him an entire championship run. Translation: this isn't 2 blokes settling a personal score anymore. This is title implications riding on whether either of them can keep their hands off each other for 1 more week. So, what happens next? Let's talk theories, because based on how this pattern reads, something is coming, and I don't say that lightly. Theory A: NASCAR's next incident threshold just quietly dropped. Any contact between these two at Atlanta triggers an automatic penalty, intent or not, because officials simply can't afford to have this conversation a 4th time. Theory B: the meeting actually works. It was preventative, not disciplinary, and both drivers simply race clean for the rest of the chase, put the whole thing behind them, and let the results speak. Theory C, and this is the one I genuinely watch for. One of them retaliates off-camera the way Hill has done before, quietly, deniably, and NASCAR gets dragged straight into the exact scenario Ford said he wanted to avoid in the first place. Now, has NASCAR officially confirmed any of this? No. None of it is locked in, and anyone telling you otherwise is guessing just like the rest of us. But based on the history here, the pattern, and what's on the line at Atlanta, I reckon one of these 3 is landing before this chase is finished. Alright, here's what I want from you. Type grey zone in the comments if you reckon NASCAR made the right call letting Chicagoland go unpunished. Type blink if you think officials just handed both drivers a free pass to settle this themselves. And genuinely, drop your take either way, because these comment sections are where the real debate happens, way more than anywhere else covering this story right now. If you've got your own theory on how Atlanta plays out, put it below too. I read every one of them. If Atlanta goes anything like Pocono did, we'll have the footage broken down before NASCAR even releases the penalty report. So don't miss it, because the story always moves faster than the official statement. Do me a favor before you go, mate. Hit like on this one, drop a comment with your honest take, and share it with another NASCAR fan who still thinks this rivalry is finished. Because that's genuinely how a channel like this pushes past 500 and keeps climbing toward the next milestone. Every like, every comment, every share actually matters more than people think for a channel this size. And if you enjoy real NASCAR breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next.